There was something strange about the way the box opened. Not the way he held it. He was careful, even sweet in how he knelt down and flicked the latch open. But the moment the velvet gave way and the ring caught the candlelight, a tightness spread across the chest like a cold breath. No reason for it. No explanation. Just a sudden unease. The restaurant was too perfect. Dim lights, linen napkins, polished glasses, and that kind of silence people pay extra for. A small jazz trio played in the corner, and waiters moved like shadows, trained not to interrupt. He had spoken softly the whole evening, quieter than usual. There'd been something different in the way he looked, like he was holding back laughter, or nerves, or both. Then came the short toast to the past, the present, and whatever's next, and finally, the moment. He stood, reached into his coat pocket. That box. The kind that always seemed heavier than it looked. People from nearby tables turned discreetly. Someone whispered, and a woman at the back let out a small gasp before covering her mouth with delight. The box opened. And that ring. It didn't just sparkle. It stung. Gold with a raised inner edge. Smooth finish, worn just slightly on one side. A tiny scratch at the base of the setting. Not noticeable unless someone knew exactly where to look. Fingers froze. Smile stiffened. Just for a second. Just long enough to go unnoticed. Then came the cheers. The clapping. His arms around her waist. The kiss. But everything had turned too quiet inside. Later that night, after the cab ride, after the good nights, after the lights were off and the house returned to stillness, the box was opened again. The same ring. Sitting on her palm now, instead of his. No music. No laughter. Just that low hum that fills empty rooms when the brain is spinning too fast. It was familiar. Not in the way all heirloom jewelry might be. This was different. Deeper. The ring was tilted under a reading lamp. Turned slowly. Searched from every angle. Then, finally, the engraving revealed itself. Lightly worn. Letters just shallow enough to miss unless looking closely. LM. It wasn't just familiar now. It was undeniable. Luke's initials. Luke's ring. Luke, who died in that accident 6 years ago. Luke, who had that ring made after graduating med school, proud and reckless and sentimental all at once. Luke, who had been buried with it on his finger. There were photos. There were memories. There was a funeral. The ring went into the casket. Everyone remembered. So how was it back here? Sitting on her nightstand? He had said it was vintage. He had said it was one of a kind. He had said he wanted something that meant something. But whose meaning? And to who? The next morning, he brewed coffee as if nothing had happened. And the ring, now back inside the velvet box, sat quietly on the dresser, like it had never left the grave. Sleep didn't come that night. The bed was warm, the sheets were soft, but the mind refused to rest. There was something unnatural about how quickly he'd fallen asleep. As if the proposal had exhausted him in a clean, easy way. As if he hadn't just pulled a ghost out of the ground and placed it on her finger. Every few minutes, eyes drifted back to the dresser. The ring was still there. Inside the box, lid closed. Silent. Still. By sunrise, there was no question. This wasn't about forgetting or grief. It was about proof. The first step was simple. Return to the only place that might still hold answers. The cemetery. It hadn't been visited in nearly 2 years. Not since the last time she stood in front of that cold grey stone and tried to pretend the silence didn't feel like punishment. The grass was longer now. The dirt slightly uneven from recent rains. But the headstone was the same. Luke Morgan, 1987 to 2018. Beloved son. Brother. Light in the dark. There'd been no mausoleum. No elaborate design. Luke didn't believe in monuments. He believed in people remembering for the right reasons. But it wasn't the stone she was there for. It was the box. A few weeks after his death, the funeral home returned Luke's belongings. Among them, a list of items that were buried with him, handwritten by their mother. She'd insisted on handling that detail herself. In the list, his favorite sweater. A letter he wrote as a teenager. And the ring. She remembered clearly. Her mother had said, "It's what he would have wanted. He wore it every day." So then how did it end up on her finger last night? Back home, the showbox of old family photos came out from the closet. Each one sifted through slowly, dust sticking to fingers. One photo stopped everything. Luke on the hospital steps, holding a diploma in one hand and flashing the ring on the other. It was unmistakable. Same ridge. Same scratch. Same initials. No one in the family had a duplicate made. There had never been a second ring. Later that day, while he was out running errands, the velvet box was picked up again. This time, with trembling hands. It wasn't just about staring anymore. It was about confronting. A question was asked, as casually as possible over dinner. "Where did you find the ring?" He didn't hesitate. "Antique shop," he said. "Little place downtown. Been closed for a while now, but the guy had a few beautiful old pieces." Something about the way he said it didn't sit right. Not the words, but the precision. Not just a ring. A beautiful old piece. Not just from somewhere. From a shop that's closed now. Too convenient. The next morning, that shop was searched online. It had existed. But it had closed nearly 5 years ago. Long before they met. Long before Luke's death. There were no listings. No forwarding numbers. Just a black and white photo on a forgotten blog post. And in that photo, barely visible behind the display glass, was a tray of rings. Front and center. A gold band. Slight ridge. A faint scratch on the setting. It looked identical. But if the shop had closed before Luke died, and if that ring was buried with him, then what was it doing in that photo? There was only one place left to go. The door opened slowly, just like always. The scent inside was the same, a mix of overripe apples and lavender sachets tucked into drawers decades ago. The house hadn't changed. Only the people inside it had. She didn't look surprised. Not entirely. Maybe she'd been waiting for this. Maybe she'd always known it was coming. "You found it," her mother said quietly, eyes locked on the velvet box in Mary's hand. There was no denial. No confusion. Just a kind of tired surrender. "You sold Luke's ring." A pause. "I gave it away," she answered, after a long silence. "That's not the same thing." The living room was dim. Curtains drawn. Family photos sat on every shelf, pictures of birthdays and holidays that now felt like fiction. The kind of staged smiles that couldn't hold under scrutiny. "He wore it every day," Mary said. "You told me it was buried with him." "I know what I told you." Another pause. This time, heavier. "Then why lie?" Her mother didn't answer at first. Instead, she sat down slowly in her chair by the fireplace, the same chair she used to rock Luke in when he was a child. "He didn't want to be buried with it," she said at last. "He told me before the accident. He said, 'Don't let that thing follow me.'" Mary's breath caught. "What does that mean?" "He never explained. But he made me promise. He wanted it gone. Not passed on. Not remembered." "But why?" A longer silence. A beat too long. "I think it wasn't just a ring to him." That didn't make sense. None of it did. "He had that ring made," Mary said. "He saved up. He wore it every day." "Yes," her mother nodded. "And then something changed. Something happened. I don't know what. But one night, he came home, and he was different. He was scared. He made me promise I'd get rid of it. He was crying when he said it." "What happened to him?" Her mother looked up slowly. Eyes red. Voice trembling. "I think someone hurt him. Or, he hurt someone." That word hung in the air like smoke. "Mary," she whispered. "There's more I didn't tell you. He wasn't just in that accident. There was someone else in the car. A woman. A passenger. That part was never made public." Mary froze. "They asked me not to say anything." She survived. But she wouldn't talk. The doctors said she didn't remember much. I thought, maybe that's why he wanted the ring gone. Maybe it reminded him of that night. The world tilted. Pieces began falling into place, but not in a way that made the picture any clearer. If he didn't want me to have it, Mary whispered. Her mother's face softened. Then why did he send it back to you? What? Her eyes darted away, panicked, almost. I didn't sell it to the antique dealer, she admitted. I gave it to someone. Someone who said they'd make sure it disappeared. But, months later, I got a note. No name. Just a sentence. She reached into the drawer beside her and pulled out a folded, yellowed piece of paper. It shook as she held it out. Mary unfolded it slowly. The handwriting was sharp. Familiar. It's hers now. She deserves the truth more than you do. No name. No return address. Just that one sentence. It didn't make sense. Unless someone else knew what the ring meant. Unless someone else had been there that night. Unless someone else wanted her to find it. Later that evening, back at her apartment, Mary placed the ring back into the velvet box. The engraving still read LM. But now, something else had changed. The box felt heavier. Under the velvet lining, where the ring sat, the bottom seemed loose. A fingertip slipped under the edge. It lifted. And beneath it, flattened carefully into the seam, was a small, folded photo. A woman, blurry, sitting beside Luke in a car. Face turned toward the window. Hair wet. Date stamped. The night before the crash. The phone buzzed. One new message. No sender. No number. Just 4 words. You're not done yet.